Welcome back to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn, a series of the Furious Curious Show where we talk about business, life, Christianity, and more. I'll do a land acknowledgement. We are on the land of the Canadians.
It's still a nation.
No, this is Canada.
Canada. Fought for by somebody's blood. Much blood was shed, probably.
Even if it wasn't, it's still Canada. Like, this is the country. We don't have two countries.
What are we talking about? Yeah.
We don't have two
Deep
countries.
trouble. Deep trouble. It's pretty interesting.
A lot of problems.
It's causing a lot of problems. It's fascinating how virtue signaling can stay in style so long, and then all of a sudden it's like,
gotta follow through.
Oh crap!
Someone starts believing it. Your cronies start believing it and start calling you on it.
The people that are listening to it finally think, hey, if these people actually are, if they're being genuine, then this is what this means.
Give it back.
Give her back. Totally makes sense. So whatever.
Yeah. That's right.
What is justice, right? What is justice?
Yeah.
What is reconciliation?
I think that's why Jesus.
It's a big freedom session topic, eh?
I think that's why Jesus taught turn the other cheek, because otherwise you have what the Palestinians and Israelis have. They're just fighting for 2,000 years. Like at some point, like you have to forgive, otherwise the fight.
You have to let go. You have to be willing to be treated unfairly and to have injustice. All of us do.
Yeah.
In our personal life and probably as a society, which is quite challenging.
Yeah. Which is not to say that it's right. Like it probably wasn't right how they took the country 300 years ago. I don't
even know the history that well. I'm not qualified to comment in any way. Just like I'm not qualified to comment on most things.
Fair enough. But I mean, big parts of like the U.S. were conquered too. Like, is Britain going to take it back now because they had it first? It doesn't work that way. Anyway, we got a comment about it from Tara M4264 on YouTube. And she says, I quote, "You're right about the can of worms. If we do land acknowledgements, we have to give the land back or we're lying and pandering. Then if we give the land back, Indigenous peoples must not have all the benefits that were under the original treaties for giving up the land in the first place to the European settlers, free healthcare, university, tax exemptions, so on. Let's all be treated equally." End of quote.
End of quote. I don't know. In our house, we have a saying, life's not fair, get used to it.
Okay, so we got some questions.
But that's a secondary issue from this. It's like we can still acknowledge hurt and we can acknowledge wrongdoing.
That's right.
They're two totally.
It's not black and white. Yeah,
it's not black and white. Yeah. No.
Hey, okay. So one more podcast session. I've had various opinions on the First Nations topic in BC. I was curious about your thoughts on the history of the First Nations. The recent Cowichan court ruling made me think of it again. How would you recommend the government work with the First Nations? Ignore the entire debacle and call it history? Would you simply recommend an apology for the history? Would you give the land back? Why or why not?
How would I deal with it?
Yeah.
I'd write a check to every single person, to every single First Nations person, and end reserves and end any sort of land ownership like that. If you talk, this has been my experience because I have friends that are First Nations.
And then get rid of the Indian Act?
Yeah, like level. Like it's
right.
not, and I'm oversimplifying because obviously it's not. But free healthcare is not free. Term of free something is not free. Even that is really hurtful. It's like you can't pay for a wrongdoing by giving somebody something. You couldn't beat your child forever and then say, hey, but you know what? I'm going to pay for you to go to the best university. Exactly. Now it's even. That's not how the world works.
Yeah.
So that just makes me crazy.
But you do say you're just going to give them money.
Well, because you would have to. You would have to get everybody on side. So you would pick some absorbent number that everybody would agree to. And people would say, well, it's not about money. Well, if it's not about money, then how come we're taking things of value and then reselling them back to white people for developments? Yeah. Of course it's about money.
That's right.
So call a spade. And those are unpopular opinions, right? Those are things that people think quietly and don't have the guts to say, right? So
that's right.
I think the idea of, hey,
which then also means all this land that some farmers, I guess, are selling back to the bands, that would all just fall.
That would stop. It would just be normal. It's just like, hey, all land, ALR. It's either in the ALR or it's not. It's exactly, we don't have some weird side deal where it's like, hey, we can take chunks and turn them 10 times the money.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about this week more, what do I actually think about it? What's my opinion? Because I know we were going at each other on Saturday and Marie dropped the bomb, which is hilarious. I'll let you share it if you want. But I don't want a whole bunch of developments popping up in the middle of Chilliwack's farmland. That kind of sucks. As a resident, I'd rather just leave it farmland. And
do you think houses should be built on hillsides then? Or where should the new houses be built? If there's nowhere left to build houses.
Hillsides or go up.
go up. Okay. Cities, vertical. Yeah. Densification, which does happen, but densification only happens out of necessity. And there again, it's about economics, right? Like it just has to make sense financially to go up high enough. And it's interesting because in Chilliwack, we don't have high rises. There's one that was built in Abbotsford. I think it's the only one.
So do they not have an ALR in Alberta?
No. They would have, each there again, there's lots of Alberta listeners, but like the city of Calgary just keeps expanding. The city of Lethbridge, every chunk of every quarter of farmland, quarter section around the city is obviously worth whatever the premium is for the person. And as cities grow and over time, the farther out you are, over time they would gain value based on the
How different would this area be if there was no farmland? It was just all one big sprawling.
Well, just go look at California. That's exactly what it is, right? I've had developers tell me that. Like, you know what? Let's just keep buying our food from California and let's just fill this valley up with houses. The nicest spot in all of Canada. Why would we not all want to live in this valley? Why do we need to grow Brussels sprouts and corn silage, right?
Yeah, that's the other way of looking at it.
That's the other way of looking at it.
Yeah.
And can you fight progress? Like, I don't think you can. I think we all want to, but I think the idea of, protecting something you can do for a season of time and eventually you look back and things change.
Yeah, that's right.
Times change. Maybe we can all of a sudden grow food in a denser way, right? In a vertical, there's friends of mine that are creating systems where they're growing in sea cans and they're growing in, basically in cities, right?
Yeah. It's like growing fish.
Yeah. Same idea. Very, very intensive agriculture, right? So.
Yeah.
The Cowichan Valley ruling is, I don't watch a lot of clips of politicians because I find it nauseating no matter what side of the political spectrum they're on because politicians are full of crap. But like, it was fascinating watching all of them. David Eby is our premier in BC, and watching the clip of his face when he was talking to reporters, it was just like, he had that moment where it's like all we've kind of talked about for months now. It's like at some point, this is going to come to a head where the party that's been kind of supporting all of the virtue signaling is going to be like, oh, shoot, this went too far. And some of the other things he said,
but now the Conservatives, they're still falling apart, so they still can't keep it together.
Yeah, they got their own set of problems. There's a fracture in the right, which is just insane.
Yeah, local BC right.
Yeah,
if you're wondering.
Yeah.
Also on the right in the U.S., there's a huge amount of young Republican males that are like very against the support of Israel and the money that the government of the United States puts into Israel and stuff like that, when like they can't find jobs and like the cost of living is extremely high and everything else like that. And then the other side is like just all in Israel, like Ben Shapiro.
Would those be the people that are somehow would they be pro-Russian as well?
No.
There seems to be a segment of people that are pro-Russia.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, this is different.
Why are people pro-Russia?
I'm not sure. We'll get to that.
Okay,
I'll talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's two segments. So like Tucker Carlson and like Breaking Points and some other bigs like are pushing back against this. But there's a huge influence from the Jewish state, not the people, the state, into the American like ecosystem, you could say. And so that's always like we've just given them like everything, right? Like there's so much like stuff when it comes to money.
Does the U.S. send a lot of money to Israel?
Tons of money, tons of like weapons, and so anyway, so they're fighting with each other, but it's like they're pretty big opposing factions that were all pro-Trump, like 18 months ago, whatever. And now I'm curious how Trump's going to handle it, but
are they going to start a new political party?
I don't know. I don't think it's that big yet, but it's going to like, yeah.
It was interesting. In BC, there's the party. It's called One BC, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Okay.
Which would be the, for
that's the break off of the Conservatives.
That's the break off, right?
One BC. Okay, didn't know that.
I think there's 3 MPs that are a part of it, and of course, people that are in the Conservative BC party would. The tent was fragile already when it was the BC Liberals. Now it was a misnomer as the BC Liberals because it was basically a right-leaning party for sure, especially compared to the NDP and the Greens. But now in BC, I mean, we have a very left-leaning province, and it's fascinating that I guess, you can say, hey, you got to be principled, but like it's going to be pretty difficult if there's fighting on the right for any sort of fiscally responsible party to ever get elected, right? I mean, it was close this last round. And I would say
the only way you could really make it work is if you build a party, it says, okay, we are going to agree on these 4 core issues, like basically like really narrow it and say that's where we're going to run on.
Everything else is free reign.
And then you're an individual MP, you can have your own beliefs.
So John Rustad would say that's what he did.
Okay.
That is actually how he got so much support
from
all sides in the conservative spectrum, because it was kind of like you could have whatever views you wanted on gender pretty much, or
Okay.
any of those rights. It's like, hey, we're not going to take a social conservative view per se, even though a lot of the people obviously would have those stance.
So what happened?
Then afterwards, all of a sudden people, it really, and this is...
So he got power and he got greedy?
No, because he never did get power. I mean, he was the leader. He basically, and it was a specific issue about on Truth and Reconciliation Day, one of the MPs, I think it was Dallas Brody, but it might have been Tara, whatever her name is, Armstrong, I think. Or there's one other guy, drawing a blank on his name. He's the other MP from the Peace region.
Someone asked me yesterday if I knew who Dallas Brody was. I didn't even know who he was. No. So he's one of the MPs.
She is the leader. I think she is the leader.
Misgendered her.
Well, she would be the most offended by that. So, she would
be the most offended?
Well, yeah.
Oh, that's why she left, because there wasn't...
No, that's not right. She left, in my understanding, and I could be butchering this because I haven't got really into the weeds. I find it really disappointing. But she basically posted about where are the bodies, right? This was on Truth and Reconciliation Day. And her and a few other people have been extremely outspoken. And to be fair, I don't think there was bodies found in Kamloops.
That's right, it wasn't. So they're asking where the bodies, because they're actually seriously wanting to see where the bodies are?
No, they're just saying, hey, let's get some truth in alongside the reconciliation.
Okay.
And Russ' dad, actually, I think it was a staffer as well, it's recently, staffer said this, sorry, Dallas Brody goes back a bit further. I think it was back in the summer already or before that. But now a staffer, I saw there was a video and she got canned instantly for saying that publicly, right?
Okay.
And
that's not allowed.
So that's the push. That's the blowback where, hey, this was going to be a big tent. We were going to allow it to be, pretty vocal about how we feel. No, we're just like every other political party. You got to toe the party line. Don't say anything that the opposition or the other party could use. I mean, this is why I struggle with our political system, because it's like the beauty of our society and the beauty of our culture. It should be the beauty of our churches, should be that we can have some challenging opinions for each other and not completely write each other off, right?
And be individuals. Yeah. I mean, that Mark Stroh wouldn't come on my podcast. Like, he won't just talk publicly. I'm like, who do you represent? Me? He's our federal MP for anyone listening. But like, me or your leader, right? Like,
oh no, they have, the Conservative Party would have a very, very strict line on what they're going to say.
It's terrible.
I guess the flip side of those conversations where I think, hey, we should be able to ask those questions about, First Nation stuff and
private healthcare.
Private healthcare.
No Canadian politician will bring that up.
No?
Private healthcare? No, you get crucified. Like, you bring private healthcare back? Like,
to me, I guess I'm naive. I'm naive, because if I ran for political office, I would say we need two-tier healthcare, and I would use the word. But going back, I think the Tara and Dallas Brody and these people, the issue I do have with them, well, first of all, I think, you have to be extremely convinced of something before you're going to start another political party. Like, the last thing we need is fractures. And don't let it be an ego thing, be humble.
Go try to have a conversation.
To have the conversation at length before, hey, it's like 9 months after an election and we're starting a new, like, this is, rather than blowing the whole thing up. The other thing is,
very few people do still. Even like in the business world, have conversations. Like, it's so much easier to walk and not have a conversation.
Or to gossip or to talk about it behind people's back. But
for like big deal stuff, like, too, I've seen it, like, just... It's easy to do.
Yeah, I guess I feel like the rub is that those people, if you follow them on Twitter, and I follow a few of them on Twitter, they are they're like a one issue thing. Like, all they're talking about is the First Nation stuff. And like, that's one piece, but that's just a very small piece of being an MP or
young
an
people
MLA
still can't buy their house, and they buy their groceries.
Yeah, and just, I think being a politician means you represent everybody in your riding, regardless of whether they agree with you, regardless of their faith, their belief system. It just means that you need to be a good listener. It needs to mean that you need to be caring of all people, even if they hate you, which is difficult to do. Like, I do think being a politician is a high honor. I respect people that run for office, because I think mostly you just get crapped on. Like, I was at a
well, I mean, be honest.
Yeah, it's not that easy. I was at a milk board at a meeting yesterday. Us dairy farmers had a fall producer meeting.
Yeah.
And it was just pretty interesting. Like, even there, like, the guys that are on the board, they're good guys. A bunch of them are my are good friends. I use that word really loosely, as you know.
Best friends.
I said best friends the other day. Yeah. Well, one of them for sure is, but I just think, man, it's so funny. The other night I was telling some story at my house, and my wife and everybody was making fun of me because I used some term. Marie's like, when's the last time you hung out with that person? You just said he's your best friend.
Okay. Me and Marie said it simultaneously.
Yeah, because it's like something.
We're both like, best friend, huh?
Yeah. Everybody's best friend, close to nobody. But just the amount of flack you take leading.
Truth to that.
the amount of flack you take, even just being on as a milk board member, and the amount of people expect these guys to like have the financial decisions for their farm or hold them personally responsible for every last thing that's a challenge in business. It's like getting a real bit like, there again, it was disappointing. It's like, obviously those guys are not perfect. They do make mistakes, but all of them are farmers as well. They all have a vested interest to make the best decision possible. And at the end of the day, like, we're operating in a communist system. So like it's going to be a bit weird, right? Like, you got to be okay with it being a bit.
I like that you called a spade there.
Okay.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.